Mavericks, a dark horse contender to land Giannis Antetokounmpo this summer. On today's One More Thing of Locked On Mavs. You are locked on the Dallas Mavericks. This is one of your hosts, Isaac Harris, covering the Mavs for the last 10 years, alongside my good friend, Nick Angstead. And today's episode is brought to you by ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network nearby, has the availability, but you also want a doctor who listens and makes you feel comfortable and explains things clearly. The kind of doctor exists. Finding them is easy with ZocDoc. It's a free app and website that helps you find and look and book a high quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. I'll admit it. ZocDoc makes the process simple. You can search for specialty or symptoms and actually build a care team that works for you. Stop putting off the doctor appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Today I want to talk about Giannis, and I just want to preface it just right off the top of there's no sources around this. There's no, news around this. Obviously, I don't think people are expecting Dallas to be in some Giannis sweepstakes or anything this summer. And I also want to say we don't look at every superstar that could be traded and do an episode on it and like, hey, could Dallas and Cam Thomas and drop an episode on Dallas and Cam Thomas, or even if it's like a huge name. I wanted to talk about Giannis because I just want to walk through some of the strings that you could see tied to Dallas and play a little bit of the what if game, but honestly just answer a few questions around Giannis's next team. If he does get traded, I guess. And if Dallas should actually go for it, if there's interest there, because I think it might surprise you a little bit about, it's not just the craziest thing in the world. If you throw out Dallas as a potential option for Giannis. So let's answer the first question. Giannis, he's 31. He goes into, this summer. We know all the drama that just happened with him around the trade deadline. They'll revisit it in the summer. I don't know what he's going to do, but the first question, does Giannis, or would Giannis ever want Dallas? All right. Because I think any team that trades for him, they're trading for him because he wants to go there. They're giving a package that Milwaukee likes. And for Giannis, he has to want to go there because he has the upcoming extension. Shout out extension talks again. And he's going to help dictate it. I think he's going to dictate it even more in the offseason. So would he want Dallas? And I think a lot of people would probably, outside of Dallas, or you might be listening to dude, why would he ever want Dallas? He would like to go to, X, Y, or Z team. Well, let me just throw out a few connections to Dallas that he has. We know the connection he has to Jason Kidd. He has openly talked about it. Jason Kidd has talked about it. People have tried to do the Cooper comp of how Kidd is using Cooper. It's what he did with Giannis, even though it's not really the greatest comp because there are differences in those situations. I was in Milwaukee's locker room when they visited Dallas. I forgot, earlier this season, and I waited around to talk to Giannis, and he's one of the few away players that have actually sought after to talk to this year. And he gushed about Jason Kidd. And there were only a handful of us there in the locker room. But man, he just, he loves talking about Jason Kidd and the impact he has on his career, how it goes beyond the basketball court. There's a lot of connections there with Jason Kidd and Giannis. Kidd coached Milwaukee early in Giannis's days. I think a lot of that is well documented, right? I think a lot of people read those comments then and, any time before, and they're like, oh, Kidd and Giannis, they have this relationship. What I think people don't fully get is the relationship he has with Sean Sweeney. And, we've been throwing around, there's I don't want to say a theory, but is there a path in which Jason Kidd becomes GM? Then he would have to find a new head coach. And then does he bring Sean Sweeney back? Sweeney, who he brought with him, who has been with him in Milwaukee in those early Giannis days. But, Sweeney obviously left last year, goes to Spurs. There was some stuff around that. I wouldn't say it was purely a Jason Kidd thing. of why he went to the Spurs. But Sean Sweeney, Giannis, great relationship. Unless something has happened over the past, 12 months or so, there is a relationship there. I'll even go back. There was a story written about Sean Sweeney because Sweeney was one of the assistant coaches who kind of took Giannis under his wing when he was super young. And there's this quote, and there's a lot of quotes of Giannis talking about Sean Sweeney, but in The Athletic from 2018 in December, he says, "Sweeney," Giannis exclaimed with a trademark smile. "I love that dude. My relationship with Sweeney, it's more than basketball. He's one of my best friends." That was from 2018. Obviously, we're 8 years later after that. I say that to say there's relationships there, right? Like even if Kidd stays a head coach, he has a relationship with Kidd. If Kidd goes to the front office and brings back Sweeney to be a head coach, Giannis has double the relationships there. Almost more importantly than that is, hey, let's look at on the court. I think for Giannis, he wants to win now, go for titles now, right? Like, I mean, that's this part of his career and where he's at in his career. I think you want to win now, and you want to go to a place to where you're set up to win for multiple years to come. You know what would be great? I think if he goes to a situation that has like a really good vet that's beloved, that you have a lot of respect for, Kyrie Irving, and an up and coming blooming superstar type of prospect like Cooper Flagg. And that's where Giannis comes into play. Could he look at it and say, "Hey, Cooper Flagg, I could attach myself to him for the next however long of my career. We have Kyrie for the next, a couple of years, whatever, and form this trio of Giannis, Kyrie, and Cooper Flagg on a rookie contract." Could you bring back Chris Middleton on a cheap deal because you have his rights at the end of this year and he's staying in Dallas and not getting bought out or waived? Played with Middleton in Milwaukee. Had a relationship there. So there are connections. There's probably more than that. That's why I wanted to bring it up. It's not just like, hey, some biased Mavs podcast, just bringing it up out of nowhere. There are some connections there. Like there are some legitimate connections. So the next question I think you have to ask is, what do the Bucks want? What do the Bucks want? And, there's a lot of different reporting around that. A lot of different perspectives around that of, well, they just want all draft picks. They want young guys. They want, is it cap? Do they want to offload Kuzma or Turner too? Like, what is the situation for them? If you look at the summer and you look at Dallas has their 2026 top 10 draft pick, which we've talked about a lot. I can't wait for them to use that draft pick, but you know what's probably pretty valuable in a Giannis trade? A top 10 draft pick that lands at 7 or 8 or whatever it is or higher. You look at, they also have the 30th pick. They have the second round pick. They have the Lakers pick in 2029. They have the Warriors pick in 2030. That's protected that they got an AD deal. They have their 2031 first. They have a swap that they could offer in 2032. And then the 2033 pick gets unlocked this summer too. So, if you're in the camp of like, hey, I would like for that to happen, Dallas has a lot of picks there that they could offer, including one in the top 10 of a loaded draft this summer, that if they really wanted to make it happen, hey, here's this pick as like a headliner. Here's the picks. I'll talk about the rest of what that package could look like in just a second. This podcast is brought to you by our friends over at TurboTax. Guys, it's tax season. And this doesn't have to take over your life. Taxes can get so confusing, guys. TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. It's a huge time saver. It gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert, just $150 all in. TurboTax experts didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointments today. This podcast is also brought to you by our friends over at Wayfair. Wayfair, who needs some new furniture right now? The new year's here, and it's a perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. It's about spending more time at home. Might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. Bedding, mattresses, storage solutions for every room. Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. It's everything you need for a full home refresh all in one place, whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, upgrading your work from home setup. Man, Wayfair's got you covered. Man, there's so much different stuff. Shopping's easy on here. It's so easy to find an upgrade if you want to switch around your room. Delivery is smooth. Everything arrives exactly as expected. Get organized, refreshed, back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Shut it down! Oh, no! Let's go home!
All right, talking about Giannis. Is Dallas a dark horse? I'm just connecting some tea leaves here and just, hey, if you would love for Dallas to chase after Giannis, the reason I'm doing this show is I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. If you are in that camp that I don't think Dallas would have zero shot. I went through just a little bit ago all the connections that Dallas has and even the appeal of like playing with a Kyrie and a Cooper, especially Cooper on a rookie contract. And I went through the draft picks they could offer in a deal. If they want draft pick heavy deal, they could do that. Here's some other parts of that deal. If the Bucks are looking around the league saying, hey, we want a trade package that is loaded with draft picks. Okay. Dallas has a good selection of draft picks, I would say, headlined by that 2026 pick this summer. After that, if I'm the Bucks, I would say I want some expiring money. All right. I want a good chunk of this coming back as expiring money because there's no reason for us to pay a high payroll. We want more flexibility. Well, Dallas can say, hey, we have an expiring contract of Klay Thompson. We have expiring contract of Naji Marshall. The Bucks could then say, hey, we want you to take back a contract of Myles Turner or Kyle Kuzma. Now, I will say Myles Turner will be a little harder. He makes more money than Kuzma, but let's just say it's Kuzma around that $20 million mark. I think Dallas, where they're at now after the AD trade, because they got the flexibility, they could also say we could take back Kuzma with Giannis. And then if we're doing all the check marks, if you're Milwaukee and saying, hey, we got to have a lot of picks, we got to have expiring contracts, you got to take back one of Kuzma or Turner. We want at least a young flyer that we can get back in this deal. That's where Dallas would say, all right, does Dereck Lively count? We know he's injured, all the stuff with that. If he doesn't count, they're probably going to ask for Max Christie. Let's just say Lively counts. So then the trade would be, let's just say there's like three picks in there and it's like the 2026 pick. You want to throw one of the future first, throw the Lakers first in there, Lively expirings of Klay and Naji, and then PJ and Gafford have to be in the deal too. And that would be for Giannis and Kuzma. Now, some of you are yelling right now in the comments. You're like, I would never want to do this. Why are you even talking about this? And I think that's very valid. Like, I think it's valid. I don't think that is a home run, like, mail it in, drive to the airport, all this stuff. I think there's a very, very good case to say, let's just ride this out with Cooper, land this, draft pick in the top 10. I'm not saying I would do this. I'm just saying I've seen crazier options for Giannis this summer than what I think Dallas could offer and what if you're like, hey, I'm kind of on the fence, then, what would Dallas even have left? What would their roster look like if they made a trade like this? Are they gutted at that point? Let's say Lively's in the deal and Max isn't in the deal. So then your starting five would be Kyrie, Max Christie, Cooper Flagg, Giannis, and then a center. We can figure that out in a second. Your bench, Kyle Kuzma, Caleb Martin, Tyus Jones, if you bring him back on a cheaper contract, which I think they will. Do you convince Chris Middleton to come back on a cheaper contract to play with Sweeney and Giannis? Maybe you could pull that off, especially since you're going for it. Okay, do you convince Marvin Bagley to come back? These are guys that a lot of times when you see teams spend a lot of money, they got to use some of their bird rights to bring back some of the guys that they have like on cheaper contracts. So that's where you go to like Tyus Jones, Chris Middleton, and Bagley and say, hey, can y'all come back on cheaper contracts and play for this team off the bench? You still have AJ Johnson at that point. What's the situation with Cisse and Nembhard? Now, could you have, if you had Myles Turner in this deal instead of Kuzma, then that would be the better fit on paper, because then Myles Turner just obviously is your center at that point instead of Kuzma off the bench. It gets a little bit more difficult, and honestly, I just don't know about the cap situation enough next summer to where, I mean, Dallas would just have to be able to take back that much more money. Unless you're going to say and like, all right, well now Caleb Martin's in it, and it's just like the more general rule of thumb, the more players you put in fake trades, the harder or more unlikely it is to pull off. So that's, yeah. Could they do that exact framework, have Myles Turner in there instead of Kuzma, and take back a decent amount more money in that trade? Maybe. I'm just not that familiar with it, if that's the case. Should Dallas do it? I think there's one side to where, what would the selling point, what would the post trade, what would the emergency podcast be for both sides if Dallas did this, or, they had it on the table and decided not to, which we never really get to hear that too often. I think the selling point is, hey, you're going for it and you're going for a title. And if you are confident in a, Kyrie Irving, Cooper Flagg, and Giannis, big three next year, do you think that can compete for a title? That's pretty dang scary. And in that scenario that I just laid out, you're keeping Max Christie, and then, yeah, Kyle Kuzma. Could you flip Kuzma for like a center or something? Caleb Martin. I mean, you're obviously pretty thin there. I don't know how the money would figure out with like some of the exceptions and everything, but the case for it is, hey, you only have so many options to get a guy like Giannis, to pair him with Cooper right now, even though he's 10 years older than Cooper, more than 10 years older. He's 31. Cooper's 19. The opportunity to pair him with Cooper and Kyrie, with Max still on the wing, you would be right there in the conversation, I think, with anybody and everybody, as far as like title contenders. And he's playing with, Sweeney and Jason Kidd, possibly. I'm just laying out this, Middleton's coming back. These guys are on cheaper contracts. There you go. What's the case against it? That I think probably a lot of you guys are probably saying too, like, hey, no, I don't really want to do this. I think the case against it is you have a superstar guy like Cooper Flagg. We saw what Dallas did in bringing in Kristaps Porzingis for Luka, and a lot of people think they feel like they swung too early, right? For the guy, for the second guy next to Luka. I mean, they swung for him. Gosh, that was his rookie year, I think. That they swung for KP. They bring KP in, use some assets and stuff from KP that they had to pay off later on. Obviously, Giannis is better than KP. But I could hear the argument though of like, hey, like we're finally replenishing some draft picks. This is how you build in today's game. It's through young guys and draft picks and trades, and let's build around Cooper. We finally like gained some flexibility here. Giannis, he's 31. He has calf injuries. What if he just drops off? What if you have to manage his minutes a lot over the next few years? If it doesn't work out or he does have a bad injury, how like are you just screwed at that point for Cooper's like rookie season or rookie contract? I could hear both sides of it. I could see why they would swing for something like that. I could see why they would hold off and say, hey, let's just build this thing around Cooper. But I'm doing the episode because there were too many strings attached of my ears started perking up of like, oh crap, I forgot. Like, he is really close with Sean Sweeney. And yeah, I knew he had this relationship with Kidd. Oh, we have this flexibility now. Oh, we have some more draft picks. Oh, we could take back more money in a deal. We have some expiring contract. Like all of a sudden, and it's like, oh, you could win now and have Kyrie Irving and Cooper, and you have a guy like Cooper that's that good that you could still be good for years to come too, even after Kyrie. Like there's just too many strings there for me not to do a fun one more thing episode. So there you go. Some of you are yelling. Some of you are like, let's do it. Some of you are like, no, don't want to do this. But I'm just laying it all out there to where, yeah, you have fun with that. Do with that as you want. Yeah, that's one more thing. And we'll be back with a post-game show coming up later on. Peace out.